Hello, hello. Hi there, Chris. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. This is going to be the first of a four-part webinar series between WP Builds and, well, I'm going to say WonderSuite, but obviously WonderSuite is a property of Bluehost. Chris is joining us today from Bluehost, and he's going to be talking for the first of four episodes. On subsequent episodes, we're going to be joined by a colleague who is called Jocelyn Hendrickson, if memory serves. And she's going to be talking through a variety of different aspects of what the suite of well, it's not really plugins. I normally say plugins, but what the suite of tools can do for you. I think it's fair to say that WonderSuite is an endeavor to add a little bit of artificial intelligence and speed and all of that into the beginnings of your WordPress website. Would that be about right? Is that roughly what it is, Chris?
That's mostly what we're going to be focusing on today.
Mhm.
There's more to it than just that, but yeah, that's certainly part of it. Is we're able to use AI to accelerate site building and things like that for customers in a way um, that makes it a lot easier to get started quickly. Whether you're new at WordPress or whether you have a lot of experience and you're finally getting around to trying out Gutenberg, it's pretty valuable. Yeah.
Can I just dig into a little bit what the sort of reasoning behind this was? Because I have my intuitions, but I could be completely wrong. But my
So
guess is, go on.
the real reason here is that a lot of people, when they sign up for a hosting plan or a website plan or something like that from a hosting company like Bluehost, have expectations about what they're going to get and
Mhm.
have expectations about how easy it's going to be. Um, and if you've seen any of the advertising in the website or hosting space, it sometimes doesn't help. Where it's easy, you can get online in 10 minutes, that sort of thing. And we want to make sure that it is as easy as possible, and we do try to deliver on those promises. But a lot of people go into this thinking, oh, this is going to be a breeze. This is going to be as simple as creating a Facebook page. And then the traditional experience with WordPress is, oh my goodness, there's quite a learning curve here. There's a lot I need to know about. There's a lot I didn't think about. Sometimes there's even more I need to buy that I didn't realize that I need if
Yeah.
I'm trying to run a store. And so what that has created is a problem of a lot of people canceling and a lot of churn for not just Bluehost, but for really anyone selling like WordPress sites and services and hosting and that sort of thing. Is that like, yeah, you get a lot of people saying, "Man, if I knew it was going to be this hard, I never would have started. I would have, maybe skipped the website thing altogether, or tried something that is easier than this, or just hired someone." So this problem of expectation versus the complexity, the kind of real complexity of it, is one of the main driving factors here. That financially speaking, we're trying to address what we call the churn problem, the people canceling early and late in their life cycle. But from a customer's perspective, like, well, we want their website to be successful so that they stick around. And so by providing them a way that they can very, very quickly get up and running, um, we can meet those expectations in a way that people are going to stick around longer because they actually accomplished what they set out to do.
And we're able to do new things in this era as well, aren't we? Because we've got the advent of AI, for want of a better word. There may be different
Mm-hmm.
ways of describing it and what have you, but we're able to introduce a foundation of intelligent questions and then intelligent responses. So a kind of flow that we go through at the beginning of setting up our website, and the inputs that we provide for those will give us a bit of a bedrock. And I guess that's what WonderSuite tackles. Do you just want to outline what WonderSuite is made up of? Because I know it's more than
Yes.
we're going to tackle today. It's got various different tools within its umbrella.
Yeah. So we have WonderStart, which is a kind of onboarding that guides you through the first setup process of a site. And we're going to dive into that in a lot of detail today. There's Wonder Blocks, which is a series of patterns and a pattern library that can intelligently. Um, well, first, it's a beautiful collection of a bunch of patterns, but it's also relevant to the site itself. So your copy of Wonder Blocks is going to be different than my copy of Wonder Blocks. or at least it's going to feel that way when you're using it. And we'll kind of get into how that works and what that means. So Wonder Blocks is a lot of patterns and blocks that make site editing really easy. There's also Wonder Help, which is our artificial intelligence assistant within WP Admin that can explain how things work, what things do, answer questions. And that's very much still in beta, but we've seen some good results from it so far. Um, and Wonder Cart. And Wonder Cart, I think we're covering in one of the later episodes in more detail, but just to summarize, Wonder Cart is a collection of commerce features that normally you would have to get several plugins to do, but they all work very, very nicely together. And it's some of the more common things that don't come with WooCommerce, but that people typically need, like how to run a sale with a sales banner, how to do, products frequently bought with, how to buy one get one free, or like those sorts of like cross campaigns and promotions like that. This makes really, really easy. And that sort of stuff often you would need several plugins for, and you would need to mix and match several plugins from different companies and hope that they all are playing nicely together. And this is something that just out of the box works really, really well with WooCommerce and certainly with each other. And it takes care of the most common types of campaigns and sales and promotions that you're going to see on e-commerce sites.
Okay, thank you for that. So we've explained the foundation.
The help
apologies.
one, blocks, and the commerce one.
Okay, thank you for that. So, quick question. Obviously the enterprise here is to speed things up. I'm just wondering if there's a sort of interface here a little bit between people who are freelancers and whether they can sell what you're about to show us over to their clients, or is this very much client shows up to your property, Bluehost, purchase it for themselves, or can I, as a freelancer, can I have this as a package which I can then sell the product of onto clients?
So right now it's very much geared toward the end user that's creating the website. But depending on how you've set things up, there's no reason you can't use it on behalf of someone else if you have access to WP Admin. That being said, it is very much geared toward the end user. And so any arrangements as far as like reselling or things like that aren't built in. But we do have a lot of people that buy hosting on behalf of their clients. We do have a very healthy affiliate program. And there are certainly people that do that. And one of the more common ways I've seen people use this is walking their customers through onboarding and very, very quickly generating a starting point. And in a single consultation, they're able to get 50 or 90% of the way there on a site build. And so for some clients that are looking for something really, really quick and simple, this can be a great, easily reproducible thing that won't feel like a template because it's customized to exactly them. Every time you run through it, it's a little different.
Okay, great. Thank you. It occurs to me that we were having a few technical gremlins before we started, and we had all the screen and everything, the share all set up, but that's gone away. So I'm just going to talk for a minute whilst Chris gets his screen shared again. So
share my screen here.
Yeah, thank you.
There it is.
Okay, perfect. In which case, I will pop it onto the screen. And the endeavor here, really, Chris, is to let you have free reign. You go for it. If there's any questions that happen to come in live, I will pose those towards you. But also, if I get confused or puzzled, I'll interrupt. But we've got roughly, I would say, about 35, 40 minutes, something like that, to get through what it is you've got to show us. Okay, ready when you are.
All right. So interrupt as often as you'd want with any questions or anything like that. But yeah, I'm going to be going through this and explaining what this is, but also just for the show here, I think it would be interesting if we talked about why we made some of the decisions we made as we step through and what sort of problems we're attempting to solve. So this is the page you would land on when you first sign into WordPress for the first time. And it's just a big screen that says, hey, make your website dreams a reality. and explains some of the things that come with your hosting and why you would want to use WordPress. And I have two options. I can either migrate a WordPress site, which a percentage of customers that are just signing up already have a site and they just want to migrate one, or start setup. And this is for people that are just starting a website for the first time. So I'm going to click start setup. And the first question we ask here is, what is your experience level with WordPress? And I've got three options: never used it some, and I'm an expert. And the idea here is this is not a questionnaire. This is actually going to change the experience that you get. So
Oh,
we never,
nice.
so we're never asking the same question twice, and we're never asking a question that we're not immediately using. There has to be an immediate payoff for everything that we ask, or else it's just going to feel like a questionnaire. So I'm going to say I've never used it before, so that we get all the steps. But one of the things we're launching very soon is, depending on how much how comfortable you are with WordPress, we change the order of the steps, and we let people go back to them later. Versus what we found is people that have never used this before and want a lot of help really like a straightforward start to finish kind of wizard that walks you through every single step, even if it's long. They like all of the help just because it's overwhelming if you don't know where to start. So I'll say I've never
Sorry, can
used
I
it.
just interrupt you one more
Yeah.
time? So what you're saying is, if you pitch yourself wrong here and you say you're an expert, and then if you reconsider, you can begin this process again. There is a way of hijacking and getting back to this and beginning once more. What you end up with is not necessarily what you have to settle for.
Yeah, one of the
Nice.
things that we are launching very soon is the ability to restart this process,
Okay.
and change your answers after the fact.
Great.
Right now, when you go through it, there aren't any links to get back in.
Got it.
Of course, you can always do it if you keep track of the URL, but no one's going to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the idea is, here I would just say, oh, I've never used it before. We can pretend, and let's continue on.
Okay.
So here I've got a series of types of websites that we can do, and I'm gonna pick, if we do, I'll say government and politics. I
Okay.
haven't done that one in a little while. I'll say continue setup. And then we have subcategories for each of these. So activism, emergency relief, law enforcement, libraries, public services, um, policy and campaigns. I don't think I've ever seen that one. So we're going to see what
Okay.
that looks like today.
It's new as well. Okay, that's fun.
So continue setup. So here, and I've already been through this on a different one, but here I would just type in a name of a website. So let's see, what did we say we were? We said we were policy and
Policy and
campaigns.
campaigns. Yeah.
All right. So let's say that, or what if we change it to say that I'm running for office or something?
Politician.
Politicians.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll say Chris Miles for governor, and every vote counts. And we can
Okay.
always change this stuff later.
Okay.
But one of the things that's nice is, like we said, we never want to ask the same question more than once. So if I, fill in my Twitter here, which would be twitter.com/Chris David Miles, then that then gets saved, but we're going to save it in more than one place, because one of the things that's kind of a persistent problem with WordPress and kind of the web is this selective amnesia that sometimes happens, where you're asked, okay, well, put your Twitter link in a footer here, and then connect your social media over here, and then tell Yoast what your Twitter handle is, and you have to tell 15 different plugins what your Twitter, and it's like, okay, you shouldn't have to answer that question so many times. And so when we're saving information like this, we're actually keeping track of how some of the more popular plugins will save that information, and we're saving it to your database in anticipation of you needing it later, so that you don't have to fill this out many times in 15 different places in WP admin. It's just now all of the things that need to know what your Twitter is know what your Twitter is
Neat.
as you fill it out. So I'm just going to put this in so we can keep going, but
Yeah.
I could fill in all of these. And at some point, we are going to finally update Twitter to X. Everyone has to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then top priority. So here, I'm getting kind of a branching path where I can say, well, what's your priority here? The account that I'm demoing right now comes with a lot of e-commerce functionality. So I could say selling, I could say designing, I could say publishing, and this will change the order in which I do things, such that, like, let's start with what you're most interested in, because we actually do keep track of the drop off in who completes the steps and like how often, and that sort of, like, just looking at analytics in aggregate. And if you start with something that you think is important, you're more likely to get through the whole thing. So we just ask you, what do you think is important? Because we want people to get through the whole thing. So we'll say designing, because that one's always fun.
Okay.
Here, it's warning me that I have an existing website, which normally you would never see, but this is a test website where I've installed things many times. Chris Miles for governor. So here, it's
like
going to
it.
try and make me a site
Yay.
for Chris Miles for governor.
So what are we seeing here? Is there something going on in the background there? So that wasn't
Yes, there is.
that wasn't a typical kind of like loading the images. It was actually, oh yeah, look
Yep.
at that.
So here we have, because of the category that I picked, it's able to see, it knows, okay, this is somebody probably running for office or making policy or something like that. If we would have picked, that I have a bakery, it would be a bakery website. If we had, depending on what you pick, all of the content and images are actually relevant to that. And so here, I don't have to use my imagination nearly as much, because that was another problem we were trying to solve with WonderSuite, is no vivid imagination required. Because it's an ongoing problem when you're trying to pick out a theme somewhere, is that you can go to, like, if I go over to wordpress.org/themes, I mean, they're great, and there's a ton of great stuff here, but I have to have a really, really good imagination to be like, okay, if I'm running for office, okay, how am I going to imagine a version of these sort of templates and whatever else that's relevant to me? And yeah, you can change the fonts. Yeah, you can change the colors. Yeah, you can change the copy and the images. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, if I need to ignore the font and copy and images and colors, and it's like, well, then what am I looking at?
Hmm.
And you have to hold so much in your head at once. It gets to be really tricky. And so here, no vivid imagination required. I can just look at this and select one, and it'll zoom in and render it. And I can actually look at this and say, okay, so here's what it's going to create for me. And these are images that it sourced from Unsplash that we have a license agreement, so these can be used without attribution
Oh,
by our
neat,
customers.
neat. You can
Yeah.
actually use the images. Okay, that's cool.
Yes, 100% you can use any of the images we add, and we just pay for them. So here it's not necessarily final copy, but it's copy that's close enough that you're able to kind of picture what things might look like. And you're able to do things like, now I can actually make a decision about colors and fonts, because I'm not distracted by the fact that it's a recipe blog. It's close enough to what I need that, like, okay, I can actually now make a decision one thing at a time about, color, this or that. So let me do this. That's a decent one. And we'll go next. I can also change the color.
That was the next question. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can, and we've got different ones, and of course I can do custom ones. But if I get too far outside of what is recommended, we do the same thing Core does, which is we'll say, hey, this is going to have problems with visibility on some screens and in some patterns, and we can warn you about that. Here, let's pick a nice professional looking font that's going to get me elected governor.
The font is all.
There we go. That looks
just
that
need
looks
a
like a government
yeah,
site.
that's it.
We'll do that one. All right, and then I can decide on a header, which here, since the primary call to action is probably going to be something like donate to my campaign or something, we probably want a pretty big header title. So I might pick something like this. I'm going to go back and change that font, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I did notice the back button, but it's nice to see you using it. So the pathway is not closed. You could
Oh yeah,
obviously
yeah. You can do this in
restart, but
any.
you can just go
You can
backwards and
you can
forwards.
skip around and do any order you want.
Whilst you
We
get your
pick.
font straight, can I ask you another question? If
Yeah.
I was to go through and I was sat next to you on a different computer and I went through and I entered exactly the same things that you did, would I end up with a website that looks like that? Or is there some kind of weird AI going on, which it just so happened that yours was 3 images with that text and a get started button? So is it driven by AI, really having a free reign on what it does, or is it sort of AI's picking a template? In this case, you've got the hero with text in it, and then you've got 3 images left to right, that kind of thing.
So the layouts, we have a number of layouts that we use. Those are pretty consistent, and we'll get to a
Mhm.
step where you can pick which layouts you like. The copy, we pre-generate so that it doesn't take too long. And and I don't remember the math for how many of them are factorial, but there's something like 180,000
Okay.
combinations. So it's like
Yeah.
we pre-generate them all, and
Yeah.
we're updating them a lot.
Okay.
And so if you were to do it at the very same time, there's a chance you could get the same thing. But based on all the different combinations and all the different choices, and everything you click on sort of changes the path a little bit, it's it would be really interesting if we both picked the same lottery number
Yeah.
per se,
Yeah. Got it.
um, but it is theoretically possible, at least for now. One of the things we're working on in the future is the design layouts will be a little bit more generated on the fly, where you'll be able to create more and more variations right then and there. And once we're able to get that into a state where it's fast enough that you can sit there and wait for it, and it doesn't feel like, let me click on this, come back, then yeah, we'll be able to launch that, and some of those will actually be generated just in time. Um, but yeah, the idea here is that when you're finished, it's not necessarily supposed to be 100% finished website,
Right.
but we want to get you well past 50, hopefully past 80 or 90% there, so that without too much imagination, you can step through, put real images, real copy, whatever else you want in here, and you're not having to use your imagination too much. Now, there are a few places where there are some gaps in some of the copy that we have, where some of the patterns haven't been adapted for every single subcategory. And so every now and then you will scroll through and see one where it's either it's default or something like that. But for the most part, we've got them all dialed in, and we're continuing to cycle through more and more.
Okay. Thank you
Um,
for that. That was really helpful.
cool.
Thank you.
So yeah, then I can. Oh yeah, just right there. The next step, it's I can pick homepage. So the
Oh,
whichever
that
one
kind
I
of
like.
answers my question. There isn't just one variant.
Yeah,
There,
exactly.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So here I've got the 3 images. Here I've got text over top of a full width one, and then I've got one that really just focuses on the text. So for mine, I'll probably do something like this.
I'm glad you said that. I wasn't going to vote for you if you'd have been either of the other two. That's great.
And then yeah, and then we have some page templates here where depending on what you picked, you've got different options here for like either testimonials, a contact page, an about us page. Using our block patterns.
And again, I think I probably want to stress that point. If we'd have taken a very different journey through this and we hadn't have picked political and we'd have picked a completely different category, what we're looking at now would be pretty different, right? We'd be looking at some,
Yeah.
if you'd gone for bakery, for example, or whatever,
Yep.
the flavor would have changed. We've just gone down one route of thousands of
Yeah,
possible
exactly.
permutations, right? Right.
Especially on the homepage, which is where we put most of our effort, is very, very different all the way down from the copy to, and so by the end of this, um, unless you're somebody like me that's doing demos, it's unlikely we'll get the same one twice.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And then I can decide which additional pages to add.
Okay.
And then here we've got, oh yeah, which features you want. So I'm going to say Yoast SEO, partially because SEO is going to be important to me, and partially because a lot of my friends work at Yoast because it's the same company as Bluehost.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased that way.
Yeah.
But we've also got a coming soon page. A lot of people are nervous about making their site live right away. What we have found, normally this would be opt-in. I've already gone through it and remembered my settings. Normally coming soon would be opt-in. But if you're still saying, hey, there's a lot of things that are really, I've got a very easy to guess domain name, and I'm worried about traffic to my site, you can put up a coming soon page so you can continue to work on it, and you'll just get kind of a blank, normal looking coming soon page that the world sees. But when you're logged in as you can actually see the real website.
Can I
So
just ask a quick question about the plugin suite that we're looking at? Obviously,
sure,
these are things that you've got relationships with these plugins, or
sure,
you are you're in the case of Yoast, that's part of the same company. But do we, for example, if we were to go for the WP forms, let's pick that as an example,
okay,
are we taking the free version there, or are there
yes,
options to? Yeah, so okay, so the email newsletter by Creative Email, that would be the sort of free tier as well. You're just taking
mm-hmm.
repo plugins and putting them in just as a starting point. You're not bundling in
Yep.
like the pro plans or anything. Okay.
Well, we do have premium plugins bundled in. None of these are those though.
Okay.
It comes a little later, and I'll show you what it
Okay.
looks like.
Thank you.
For now, just to keep things simple, I'm going to say just Jetpack and Yoast and a coming soon page, please. And then it's going to take that big site object that we made and it's going to bake me a website. So yeah, we've gone through all the steps. This is just a little bit of additional information for people to read while we churn through it. And then I click complete setup, and here we are. So this is the Bluehost dashboard inside WP Admin. I believe in one of the later episodes we'll dive into AI help a little bit more.
I am so
Deeply.
interested in that. I just want to see what you've got there. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for now, as you can see, because I had selected give me that coming soon page, I get to see this, which is, here's where I went to law school and here's where I was a community organizer, et cetera, et cetera. Here's, please vote for me for governor. But the world only sees the coming soon page. And it's the same generic one that everyone gets. So it doesn't really give any information away for now. And so, yeah, we've got a series of steps here that like, hey, here's some things that either came with your plan or that we think would be useful that you can do. And when I'm ready to go, I can always just launch the site and that'll turn the coming soon page off. But to answer your question before about stuff that comes with it. So when I'm yeah, so here if it looks like on this version of the plan, we don't yeah, so this was not an e-commerce plan it looks like because we yeah, here we don't have the upsell, cross-sell, and promotions. But one of the things I'll just show you the differences in the plans here just so that people are familiar. We have WordPress hosting that is just WordPress hosting, comes with everything I showed you. Then we also have online store plans. And what that comes with is, and we'll get into this more in some of the later episodes, but just to briefly cover it, that comes with some additional functionality, um, like those, wish lists, Ajax search, the WonderSuite that lets you do cross sells and upsells and other promotions and things like that would all come included. So instead of being asked to pay for it to unlock it, it would actually just be a part of the hosting plan. Is a little bit more expensive, but it comes with those things. So, yeah,
If you
the
just on that one, Chris, if is there often a benefit in doing things up front? In other words, you just showed us the bluehost.com website where you can pick particular plans. Does it generally tend to be cheaper to do it at the start of your journey to get that plan figured out, or is it the same price if you bundle things in the UI? So there was an option there to buy now for the
mhm.
e-commerce. Do you have any knowledge
Well,
about that?
two answers there. For one, just generally speaking, um, right now, well, really all month, but right now is the best time to buy basically anything that you buy
Yeah,
online.
anything, anywhere.
Anything, anywhere. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for hosting, everyone is really competing for your dollars right now. And Bluehost is no exception. So all month long, we're doing Black Friday. So right now is actually a really, really good time. Over 75% off on a lot of our products. Um, so yeah, now is a great time to buy some of these things. But yeah, with the WordPress hosting, you can buy the e-commerce package separately, or you can buy it with the hosting plan. And the price isn't going to be really that different. It's substantially equivalent either way. Where you start to, um, but given that we massively discount the first term, you will save a lot of money on that first go around, right? Because a lot of times what we find is people that are just getting started don't have as much to invest in their site. But once you've got an e-commerce store up and running and you're starting to get some customers and that sort of thing, then you can afford really what the hosting actually costs. And so for like as an introductory price, yeah, it's totally possible that you're going to be saving a lot of money here by signing as part of the bundle for on that first term. When you renew, it'll be the same as if you had just bought it separately. So that's one thing to keep in mind is if you already know you're going to have a store and you're looking at this in the month of November of 2023, it's not too late. We're doing sales all month. Um, and as a quick aside, our Black Friday sales, at least this year, are all month long.
Whoa,
And
that's pretty neat. Nice.
yeah, and a lot of people like that. And also, it helps us a little bit, just as a little bit of inside baseball. The A lot of people won't sign up for things. There's a big dip just coming into before Black Friday and that's not just Bluehost, it's everybody. Where it's like, I'm not going to buy a TV right now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's right.
let me wait
Yeah,
2 weeks because I bet
yeah,
everything's going to go on
yeah.
sale. And so every retailer in the world is like, well, we're about to have our best week ever, but first we're going to have our worst week ever.
Uh,
Um,
I've
and
been
so
doing that for 6 months, Chris.
yeah, exactly. So like because of that, we just do it all month long, and we're like, okay, we don't want to have a really rough November and then make it all back in the last week. We're gonna do all month long Black Friday, loud and proud, and it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, yeah, back to the experience though. One of the things I can do, since this is a demo, is I can do a little bit of demo magic. And so what I can do is I can make it so that we've purchased this. So if I
The
click buy
magic key.
now,
Yay.
um, let's see if we can. There we go.
He's fiddling with
I
fields
am.
on other screens, probably,
Yeah, I'm just
making it
buying it
paid.
really quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just checking the
There we go.
box. Checking the box.
And so now we should, as soon as that order goes through, um, we should have access to this. So that'll take like a minute and a half. But yeah. So while we're doing this, I can walk you through. So here's a here's kind of a walkthrough of what we've got. Here is you've got a preview of your site that is always going to be live, and it warns you whether or not there's a coming soon page up. In store, you can check on the current status of your site, how your sales are doing. In another episode, we're going to dive into this in a lot more detail.
I think, in fact, the next
in
episode,
sales.
WonderCart, is going to be episode 2 with Jocelyn, so that'll be next week, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And then, and in fact, it's probably best if we save this until that next episode. But
okay. Just to be clear,
then,
we're building on top of tried and tested WordPress solutions here. So this isn't some Bluehost WonderSuite bespoke cart solution. You're building atop of WooCommerce.
WooCommerce.
Woo, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in fact,
yes, that's part of yours as well, isn't it? Right? Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So Yoast, Bluehost, and Yith Themes are the same company. And so some of the most popular, just after Automatic, the creators of WooCommerce, some of the most popular WooCommerce extensions on the market are created by this company, which is now part of Bluehost, which means we can give it away for free. And so it's really nice that if you get one of those plans, you can install this, and it comes with a lot of really cool stuff that you can just turn on. So going back to, because we've got about 10-ish minutes left. One of the things
roughly.
I wanted to
That'll
demo
be about right, yeah.
Was let's make a page here. I'm going to make a new page. And one of the things that's nice about this is the fun is not over. Because
see a green button that's unfamiliar. There we go.
Yeah, so this is new. So remember how we told WordPress what kind of site this was, so that it would build us a site that was specific to me running for governor?
Yeah.
Well, the fun thing about this is, because I answered those questions that way, now when I go into my pattern library,
that's neat. That's really
my entire
neat.
pattern library is based on what I said. So every single one of these is relevant to, in one way or another, to this. So you
what's
don't get
really interesting about that is, when I was building client websites, even writing text that was slightly to do with the industry that they were in, rather than it being lorem, made such a difference to their perception of it. If I showed them the exact same page, but it had something akin to what they were actually in business selling or doing, it was always much, much more easy for them to get a hold of. That's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you've got. Oh, no, it's great, and that's exactly the
there
the
you are.
reaction we
Look
were
in
hoping
your
for.
stretch limo.
Yeah, so there I am in my stretch limo. But and so yeah, this is where, because we didn't just pre-generate a bunch of home pages, we pre-generated your entire Wonder blocks. So now when we go into these different areas, which is funny because some of them only make sense to certain things, but it still, it does its best. So like this is maybe a little social commentary here that we have a pricing table for a politician, but but yeah, the maybe it would make sense if you're donating something
Did
like
you
that.
see that
But
one? For $49, you can buy the influence pack. That's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, which is pretty funny. But yeah, like the copy is all written for that
Yeah,
specific vertical.
that
So
is
it's
so neat.
it's
That is
really
so neat.
fun. That like you don't have to use your imagination nearly as much, and yeah, the meet the politicians who will fight for you, that sort of thing. So yeah, I can go in here. Let me go to templates,
Okay, this is something
and
else as
I'll
well.
do a
Okay.
whole yeah. So patterns are just like sections of a page basically. But if I go into templates, I can do a whole page. So I wanted to add a page. I'm just going to add this entire page. So now we've got an entire page here, um, where most or all of the copy and images are specific to what I said it was. And now I'm just using Gutenberg. And the other
Can I
thing that's
ask?
really go
Can I
ahead.
ask an important question around this? What is creating the layout there? Are you using core blocks or is it
All core blocks.
so everything's core blocks?
Everything's core.
So what you see, you don't. It's not proprietary. You can fiddle with it and move things
Hmm.
around. You just need to
Yeah.
learn the way that core
There's
blocks work, group blocks, and
yeah.
all of that.
There's
Yeah.
no extra plugins to license. There's nothing that's going to suddenly change in turn like and we're keeping up with core in terms of block grammar and things like that. So like the there's a few places where core didn't get us all the way there. So one of the things that we had to add, for example, is animation, which is not in core yet. Eventually it will be, and then we can take this out. But until it is, we have to help core just a little bit. But for the most part, well, not even for the most part, 100% the blocks themselves are made out of just core blocks. It doesn't even require the Gutenberg plugin. Um, and they're just patterns, synced patterns in a template with a bunch of pictures and text specific to the type of website that you have. Um, and we're always adding more to these. So this is what it is now. And, we're going to have way more in 6 months and that sort of thing. So whether it's something simple like a link in bio, or if you want, like this is one of our recent things that we just launched this last month, is customizable coming soon pages, um, that require extra blocks, for the form. But yeah,
What's the little heart icon? Is that like my?
favorites.
This is just me saying
Yeah,
I like that one, and that stores it away somewhere
yeah,
for future use. Because you've got a lot in there,
exactly.
haven't you? Especially when you were looking at the patterns, there's like hundreds, and being able to just
Hmm.
say I like that, I like that, I like that, and then
I
you
like
can.
that. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
So I'll just
Oh,
favorite a
there
few
they
of
are,
these,
down below. Got it.
and then they're going to show up in my favorites then from then on.
Neat.
And here's a little inside baseball. We pay attention to the ones people favorite, and that determines what we make more of and what we experiment with in the future. Because we're like, oh,
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
Nobody favorited this one. We're not doing that again. Or maybe we need to look at it again, and we'll interview people and we'll figure it out. But like, we are looking at which websites are actually successful, which websites aren't, what are the formulas that play nicely together, what are people actually doing, and we're able to. It's one of the benefits of having, about, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, about 10 million sites, um, on your server farm that you can look at to say what is the actual recipe for success. What does a real successful website look like? And how can we help someone who's just getting started, um, replicate some of that recipe? Um, and so this has been really, really successful so far, but there's still a ton we need to do, and there's still way more to go. Um, but yeah, right now it's really, really fun, because one of the things we'll be able to do is when we're on like customer experience interviews with customers, we can promise them, hey, we'll build you a whole website if you call us, and we get feedback, and all we have to do is walk them through onboarding, and there we go. They have their custom website that probably nobody else has, and they're really happy about it, and it looks great. And we get to see the reaction to it and feedback like that. But it's extremely effective. So like I can step through this with a client and make a
Oh,
whole website with them.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the more amazing pieces is that you can really knock out something very, very quickly that your clients can get a hold of.
Yeah.
And yeah, just quickly going back to the blocks again, you were showing us. So when you went to Wonder Blocks, it showed us patterns. Do you ship any actual blocks? So if we were to go to the inserter, everything that you
Not
showed
yet.
us is a combination of core blocks, right? So obviously, you've dragged in some images from various
Core
places.
blocks, stuff that's in WooCommerce. Um, I think the coming soon page requires, I believe, Jetpack form,
Okay.
which we
Yep.
can do. And if you just say install form, um, it will then install it, which is not a thing we had to invent. That's core can do that. Um, but yeah, so it's really nice to just be able to walk through this, and in the space of, well, most of it's just been me yapping away, but in the space
Yeah,
of
no, it's
about
been
20
really
minutes,
interesting. I tell you what, what's just
we've
amazing
we've
to
made a
me
whole
is,
website.
yeah, the thing about this is if you were to rewind the clock like 6 years, everything that you've just done was totally voodoo. You
Oh
could
yeah,
not, you like none of that was even imaginable. And now, slowly but surely,
yeah.
Gutenberg begins. We've got this non-proprietary way of creating pages and templates and
Hmm.
patterns and all of that kind of stuff. And now,
Yeah, it's
you,
future proof stuff. Yeah.
yeah, but it's interesting. But that has also added a layer of complexity for end users. And so something like WonderSuite, and in this case, we're looking at WonderStart, abstracts that away a little bit and says, yeah, we know
Yep.
that's hard. Here's a wizard. And honestly, I'm really interested to know. I think you could probably have done that site if I wasn't yapping down your neck and you weren't doing it on a presentation. What, honestly, 120 seconds, something like that from start to finish?
Yeah.
Something
I think
crazy.
so. It depends on the last step where we install plugins. If you selected all of them, maybe an extra 30 seconds.
Okay. Oh, that's just unforgivable.
Just because it takes
It's
us a little bit longer to do that.
just
But
amazing. So even if you just use this as a recipe for generating ideas, if you just
mhm,
looked at it and thought, well, I want to do a politician, but maybe I'll tweak it and, just go back,
yep.
start again, have another look, see what these templates and patterns do. Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. So just to point you in the right direction, this is a Bluehost product. It's called WonderSuite. It's spelt exactly as you'd imagine: WonderSuite. There we go.
Mhm.
Bluehost.com. You can find more about it there. Obviously, the pricing is as aggressive as it's going to get in the year 2023. Kind of
Yep.
hop on board now is probably the best time to do it. We're going to be back next week and we're going to take another aspect of WonderSuite and demonstrate that. It's not going to be with Chris this time. It's going to be with somebody else called Jocelyn Hendrickson. And she's going to give us a bit of an unpacking of something called WonderCart. So take what you've just seen and then imagine that with e-commerce, making e-commerce as simple as possible. That's what we're going to be covering today. I don't see any questions that have come in, so I think I've probably asked enough. So I think probably all that I'll do, Chris, is say thank you so much. That's really, really fascinating. Is there anything you wanted to add before we closed it out?
Um, the sale ends when the month ends, so get it while you can.
Get it while you can. Yeah, my inbox is insanely full of all the WordPress things, but yeah, get it while you can. Yeah, thank you, Chris. I will stop
Thank
the
you.
screen from sharing. And I will say, well, I'll be seeing you in a few weeks' time because we're back to do something in a few weeks' time. But Chris, thank
That's
you
right.
so much. I will see you
Thank you.
next time. Yeah, take it easy.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.